We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vì thứ pháp bồi cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh, tịnh chuyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liều sanh thoát tư lý khổ đạc lạc, tất chứng vô sanh. Namo Sadhan. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Namo Sadhan to Suche Do Ye La Hudi San Miao San Puto Sie. Namo Tanakta Toya Daya Alahade Tamyo Tambo Da Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa ba he qian wan jie nan zao yu wo jin jian wen de shou qu Yuan Jie Ru Lai Zhe Shi Yi. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, great Master Jing Liang, great Master YongHua, all good monks and nuns, and all good known advisors, Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大士、师父上人、各位出家人、各位善知识，弥陀佛。 Kính thưa chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Thanh Lương Đại sư Hòa thượng Thiên Thoá, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện sư thức A Di Đà Phật. Okay, hello everyone. Today is the 16th of September 2022. I appreciate your coming to join us with this discussion of the prologue to the Avatamsaka Sutra, a survey, an overview of the contents of the this deepest and the king of the sutras, the highest level of wisdom in Buddhism. This is a pleasure to be here with you. Okay, so we're presently on slide 120. As we are getting more and more engaged in our next phase of Dharma propagation, it is important for me to remind all of you that, especially the monks and nuns, unless you have an emergency, unless, for example, you have to meet a deadline or you have commitments to the other people, prior commitments, you should try to make the effort to join and participate and attend these Dharma talks and Sutra lectures. They're critical for your development as part of your training. What happened is I encourage you to listen to Master YongHua's Dharma as well, but ours more to be blunt about it, more tailored towards your generation. That's what I call by American Mahayana. You need to listen to these instructions. They are important for you, for your spiritual practice and your spiritual development. Okay? So, again, unless you have emergencies, unless you have excusable things, then you should try to attend it. And you attend it, it's not a matter of just listening. You listen and you reflect upon yourself. And that's called active listening. It's not so much about understanding, it's about hearing what is said and then see how it applies to you. The Dharma is always directed at the listeners, and therefore it's meant for you to listen to the Dharma, not so much to understand, but only to ask yourself, to use it as a mirror, to look at yourself. Is it something I'm doing or not? All right? All right. We are on slide 20. We are in the discussion of the particular dharmas that are spoken, addressed in this Avatamsaka Sutra. We talked earlier last week about the 4 dhyanas. The dhyanas are the first level of concentration you're going to have when you start practicing. When you have a spiritual practice, you will enter the dhyanas. Just like all of you have entered dhyanas so far. Okay? And that's very important. Once you enter the dhyanas, you be more or less have a flavor of the bliss of dhyanas, and that's what one of the first experiences you're supposed to get is for the rewards or the advantages of these spiritual practices. Okay, so the sooner you enter the dhyanas, the more you'll be convinced of the advantages of practicing, and the higher your level of dhyanas, the deeper your level of bliss that you experience. Okay. Again, we are on slide 120, continuing on these dharmas that are taught by in the Avatamsaka Sutra. The Avatamsaka Sutra taught us about the still considerations or the dhyanas. And he talked about here the scholar Yin Liaofan is and Master Yungu. Okay, and they both Yin Liaofan was a scholar, so a man of erudition, and they both sat together in chant. When you learn the knowledge, you pursue the knowledge, the path of knowledge, you still need to meditate in order to meld all the knowledge together. All the knowledge are part of this big picture. Okay, so it's not something that you can really absorb. You can really understand until you're able to meld them together, synthesize them together. Okay, and intellectually, the scholars, what they learn in schools is they research and look at different materials, different papers, and put them together. And what happens in Buddhism, it doesn't work like that. Buddhism, when these thoughts, these teachings are melded together, it only happens not because of your deduction, your thinking mind. In Buddhism, the wisdom only it comes from the melding together all these Buddhist principles, these Buddhist concepts. That happens only when you stop thinking. And that's a big difference between intellectual knowledge versus spiritual knowledge or prajna knowledge. Prajna knowledge is only is only achieved that by your stopping your thinking. If you look at these different concepts, the different knowledge in Buddhism, and somehow you try to put them together in a logical fashion, it doesn't work. It's not called wisdom. And that wisdom that only happens when you stop thinking. You don't use deduction at all. Deduction for worldly knowledge or by synthesizing information like the scholars do is not considered transcendental wisdom. All right? So anyway, so even the scholars back then in China, they were taught to meditate, and that's how they achieve deeper understanding of the literature or come up with their own vision or deeper understanding of the literature themselves. Okay, so they meditate a lot back then. The scholars of old meditated a lot, and who better to meditate with than a Chan master? So this Yin Liaofan here, he was well connected. He's able to sit with Chan master Yungu. Okay, and so Chan master Yungu sat with this scholar for a while, and he says, "Wait a minute, how come you have no thoughts for 3 days?" So that's how long they sat together. And Yin Liaofan says, "Well, things occur naturally, and we're supposed to get what we're supposed to get. So therefore, for us to aspire for things, to wish for things, to desire for things that are not meant to be, would be useless, would be a waste of time." And Chan Master Yungu then says, "Oh, I thought you were a sage. Actually, you were just an ordinary man." Excuse me. So the scholar said, Why did you insult me?" And Chan Master says, you let fate tie you up for decades. And it's like a wake-up call for Yin Liaofan. He says, "Really? So how do I escape this fate here?" And because I believe in fate, and I always thought that no one is above fate. If it's meant to be, it's going to happen regardless. And so how can I escape this fate here? And the Chan Master says, in the Book of Chains, the I Ching, he says, "Pursue good fortune and avoid doing what brings calamity. Those who do good will have a reason to rejoice. Those who do bad will have calamities." Go ahead, Q&A. Go first. You can't hear you.
Hello, Master. Can you hear us?
You're back from Europe.
Yes, I am. Sorry, we have some new trainees on the audio station. So I would like to just add some background to the story, because it's really famous.
Sounds good. Please do.
Especially around this point of why Yuan Liaofan had no thoughts for 3 days. So the first part of the story is that so Yuan Liaofan had this experience where there's one person who can tell fortune, right? Probably a Taoist.
Right.
This person told him his exact fate in his early life to the letters. Like he had some predictions about, when you go to the entry exams for becoming...
Peer examination, yes.
Which is the big deal for the scholars back then, right? So
right.
the fortune teller was able to tell exactly, like, you will be the 14th. You'll be ranked to the 14th, or you'll be ranked for the first exam, and then the second exam you'll be the next level exam. You'll be ranked to the 30s, for example. So everything was predicted to him exactly the way it unfolds in the future. And then things like what happened to him when he became an official, like how much was his salary, stuff like that, was all being foretold. So, and then this person also told him exactly, he will be die at a relatively early age, I think 50 something. So
yes,
basically
54, yes.
Okay, so his whole life has been told already. That's why he kind of, at that point when he met the Chan master and then sitting together, he kind of, I guess he had no thoughts, because that's why he said that everything's fate and there's no point of thinking about things.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thank you for
Context.
For the additional information. Okay, you stole my thunder. I was supposed to do next slide 121, but you're right. It turns out the reason Yin Liaofan was that way is because he encountered a astrologer, a physiognomist who made a prediction, and all the predictions came true. That is, he would pass impure examination. He'll be an official in such a county. His salary level would be so and so. He would die at the age of 54, and he has no son for heir, and so forth. And it all came true at all. And so Yin Liaofan became convinced that there's no point in him having any desires at all, because the prediction all came true. And that's why he was very at peace with himself. But after encountering the Chan master, Yungu, he listened to his advice, the Chan master's advice, okay? Meaning that you do good and you avoid doing bad, doing evil things. And that's how you change fate, okay? You can be proactive. You don't need to be reactive and let things happen. So Yin Liaofan heard that, and he started doing good. And so he set about doing about 3,000 good deeds, and he took big chances. He reduced land taxes significantly, even went to Mount Wu Tai to request a son. Okay, he says that all the good things I did, the blessings accrued from my good deeds, I would like to have an heir to my name. And so went to Mount Wu Tai. Why would you want to do that? Even though you have the blessings, okay, you still need to do something to activate the good blessings, okay? Please make sure you understand that. There are two different things. We have good roots, we have good blessings. However, we need to do things to activate them, okay? Very much like you have the good seeds. The good blessings are like the good seeds. In order for the good seeds to be useful to you, you need to water it, you need the proper conditions, and for it to bring fruit and flowers for you. So he went to Mount Wu Tai to show his sincerity. He says he went to Mount Wu Tai and he prayed to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and asked for a son. And sure enough, the wife bore a son. And that's what happened. And so that's why Master Shenhua explained that for ordinary people, when you look at the physiognomy, here's a lesson. When the physiognomy is good and the mind is not good, then poverty and suffering will be what you experience your life long. Okay, so it doesn't matter. You have a good looks, but your mind is not good, you be poor and you have a lot of suffering. On the other hand, if you don't have good looks, but your mind is good, you will have blessings and honor your whole life. And if you have physiognomy, both physiognomy and mind are not both good at all, then you will both toil and you have poverty. And finally, if both physiognomy and minds are good, then you have blessings, honor, and fame. So that's the lesson with physiognomy. A lot of people nowadays, especially Asians, are interested in physiognomy and so forth. Actually, what quite often the physiognomy needs to be accompanied by the good mind, and in order for good things to happen to you. Okay, so that's the story behind the faith. Okay, now the question is the question why I read this story is that how come the guy had no thought for 3 days, he have no wisdom at all? You think that in Buddhism, when you practice Chan, the reason you unfold your wisdom is by stopping your thoughts. How come this guy was able to stop his thoughts, but he has no wisdom at all? This is a very important point. Anyone? The Chan Master verified. He says, this guy has no thoughts for 3 days. How come he has no wisdom at all? Q&A.
Master, you already said it, but I now believe that he had no thought for 3 days. I saw it's impossible for him. I saw it's impossible for him to have no thoughts for 3 days.
Yeah, he has no thought. According to Chan Master YongHua, he says, I sat with him, I know this guy has no thoughts for 3 days. That's a long time.
Maybe
how come he has no wisdom?
Maybe only no coarse thought, but
maybe what?
Only no coarse thoughts.
Only knows what thoughts?
Coarse thoughts.
Coarse thoughts. No. Anyone else? This is important in Buddhism. You need to understand this. This is why it's so critical. What did I tell you when I first started? I started a lecture. I said, I don't care what you monks and nuns, especially monks and nuns. I'm training you. I spend the time to speak Dharma to you, and I explain sutras to you. Unless you have a good excuse, you should not miss these instructional talks. You should not miss these lectures. Why? For this very same reason. It turns out, it's funny, I brought it up even not knowing, not being prepared for the Yin Liaofan here story, but it's totally related.
Oh, you don't need it?
Yeah, no, because he doesn't listen to the right Dharma.
What? Are you arguing over there in San Jose?
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're ready.
Discuss it.
No, I was just saying that Master already explained it. I was going to say that because he did not listen to the proper Dharma.
That's right. That's very important. This is what in the earlier today I explained about Manjushri Bodhisattva and talked about 3 levels of wisdom: literary wisdom, contemplative wisdom, and real mark wisdom, real mark prajna. This is related, okay? Meaning that it's so important for you when you first start out to accrue literary prajna. Okay? What happens to the non-Buddhist practitioners is that they skip this step. They never had this step, so that they really have no seats for literary, they have no literary prajna wisdom at all. So that when they meditate, okay, they can never develop the contemplative prajna wisdom nor the real mark prajna wisdom at all. That's a big difference. This is why if you listen to the wrong Dharma, you listen and you plant the inferior prajna wisdom seeds, what will sprout later when you meditate, when you follow your spiritual path down the road, either later down the road in this life or in the future lives, those seeds will sprout and you will not be able to develop wisdom. You know, this is what Master YongHua did for us. This we should be grateful for, is in the sense that he helped us, give us a chance to accrue literary prajna wisdom. You don't want to skip it. And continuing the same vein, I hope in the future, in your generation, 3rd generation prajna of Mahayana in the West, you also need, when it is your turn to take over, continue the work, you also need to help people plant literary prajna, either by encouraging them to listen to Master YongHua, to listen to mine, and even add their own literary prajna. Okay? That's very important. That's part of our work. The real monks and nuns are supposed to speak the Dharma or help people develop literary prajna. I'm not, in case of some of you who are not, who don't feel you qualified to lecture on sutras and so forth, it's okay. Then you can point them to, encourage them to listen to Master YongHua's Dharma, listen to mine, and so forth, okay? And that's what you do. But what you do is you need to help people increase their literary prajna. Is that clear? And this is a very example right here. Yin Liaofan, and he never developed, he never accrued the literary prajna. That's why he never, even though he sat there, he didn't think for 3 days, and there's no prajna seeds to mature. Is that clear? This is the little difference that will make or break your spiritual path. Especially you students of Buddhism, you don't understand. You know, I've seen people who've been practicing Buddhism for a long time. I look at how the way they describe their spiritual practice. What's consistently is the case for me, I notice, is that these people, they struggle so much is because they were never taught to plant superior literary prajna wisdom seeds. I see in Sunims, I see in Vietnamese people, I see in Chinese people, I see in Taiwanese people, I saw it in Sri Lankans, I saw it in all sorts of people. Okay? And I'm very concerned that my generation is not reminding you of that, is not stressing, is emphasizing the importance of the literary prajna seeds. And that's what you need to do. Just listen to the proper Dharma. It's not about understanding, it's about listening. All right? Next. We're on slide 122, 123. The still consideration is the general term for the dhyanas, the dharmas that help you develop the dhyanas. The last time we talked about the first dhyanas, characteristic of first dhyana. Why is it important? Because you need to hear about the first dhyanas first, okay? Then when you enter first dhyana, I will remind you, for example, in our cases, I remind people, now you're first dhyana, in first dhyana. Then you go back to these notes and say, first dhyana means that my breathing stops. Okay, my pulse stops, excuse me. The pulse stops. Okay? And that's how you will understand the range of ability you're supposed to have. Okay? The pulse stops and you are less attached to eating and drinking, sleeping, and so forth. Okay? As you continue, first dhyana is just the first taste of bliss, of joy, of happiness you experience. You should continue to practice. From first to second is also a natural evolution. You will naturally evolve the second dhyana, because typically first dhyana for us is not really considered concentration. It's just like very weak concentration. Second dhyana is the beginning of concentration, if you will. That's when it counts, where when you develop the skills to enter second dhyana, it's considered that you have concentration power. First dhyana is sort of like quasi-concentration, to be exact. Okay? So second dhyana is called 定生喜乐地. So once you get into the form realm, from your desire realm, where we are right now, and where we live is called desire realm, because we have our thoughts all day. We scheme for, we dream of desires. Okay, we indulge in desires all day long, and that's what makes us happy. Happiness for us is to indulge in desires, to satisfy our desires. That's why it's called desire realm, where we are. Yeah, and we practice. You exit, you get out of this desire realm and go into a form realm. That's when you have, you're able to develop the four dhyanas. Second dhyana is where once you get into the form realm, then you will bring forth a stronger sense of joy and bliss. Okay, when that happens, and so 无寻为何定，二禅的无寻为何定，OK 无何定 OK What's her in Chinese again? I forgot this Chinese character. This character here, someone please look up this character for me. What? 为何定 为师 I forgot. I read it some times ago, and I forgot. And this is important. The Chinese have such tips, such insights that we don't have. What does it mean? 无寻为思 what's that? 思 what's that?
It's pronounced 四.
思
Observing, it's like serving, observing, examine, attend, wait upon. Like waiting upon, like a 伺候 somebody.
Okay, waiting upon, helping. Okay. So this is the insights they have. For first dhyana, you no longer seeking, but you actually are observing. You still are. This is your mind consciously are still observing. Okay, in the mental thoughts are engaged in a form of observation. When you go to second dhyana, that's when it stops. You no longer are keen upon observing things. Because what happens is first dhyana is the habit energy you have from the desire realm is that you want to know, you want to see. Okay, and so that's why when you enter first dhyana, you enter it because you're no longer seeking. Okay, but you still are attached to observation. To you know, because you observe all day, don't you? You observe other people and you observe things around you. In second dhyana, you no longer attach to that. That's why it's a deeper level of concentration. Yes, one.
From Alex, what does can sit 49 days mean? If someone can't sit 49 days, does that mean they haven't reached second dhyana?
No, not at all. Okay, so that's a difference. When you get there, you see. And when you get to second dhyana, first of all, you have no more pulse, and also your breathing also stops, meaning that when you put your fingers to your nose, okay, you no longer feel any air. You no longer see any breathing at all. However, it's very important to understand that you're not dead. You're still breathing, but you're breathing with your entire skin. Your entire skin is breathing through your pores. So you no longer are breathing the normal way. So that's why some of the Indian practitioners, they, for example, you heard such feats where they bury themselves in the coffin for days, for a few days, and then they dig them up, and the meditation practitioner did not die; is still alive. That's the same thing. They enter dhyanas and the breathing stops, so they are able to use a lot less air than necessary to keep their body functioning, if you will. Okay? So that is meant by the breathing stops. The normal breathing stops, but there's a finer breathing that is, so you consume a lot less air, if you will. Case in point, when I go into a car now, I get into a car nowadays, I always have this observation, and you guys might find it funny. I find it funny myself. Because in California right now, it's very hot. So the car, our car sit outside. There's no garage, so they sit outside in the parking lot under the sun. So the car is very, very hot. The air is very hot as soon you get in. So far, so good. Meaning that it's like you entering the car, it's like you entering an oven. So when you breathe the air inside your car, it's much hotter than the air that you used to outside. in your house or outdoors, okay? Because the cars in California here, we are concerned about vandalism, so we always lock our cars and with the windows up, okay? So when you get into the car, the air is very, very hot. What do? I don't do anything, okay? Yeah. But Master Xianjie, for example, as soon as he enters the car, he lowers the windows so that cooler air comes in. Why is that? Because he thinks. That's why he needs air to feed his head. Okay? When you think a lot, you need to breathe. You understand that? So the people who think, they need a lot of air. Okay, that's proven on Master Xianjie. Every single time he gets into my car, okay, I always chuckle. I know he never said anything. Is that because Xianxin used to do that too. She used to lower the window to herself until one day I chuckled. I said, you're thinking too much. And he says, really? How do you know? I said, well, you have to lower the window. Because you need more air to feed your thinking mind. So she realized that and she stopped thinking. That's why nowadays, if she enters the car with me, she still doesn't lower the window. But Master Xianjie, who she got a ride from me last this week, okay? He entered the car and immediately he lowered the window. And you're talking about, this is in San Francisco, okay? The temperature at that day was around 80s outside. So in the car should be another 10 degrees more. So it's 90 degrees inside the car, only 80, 70, 80 degrees outside. And he still needed more air to breathe, okay? Because this guy thinks too much. Okay? And that's how you, too, can find out who's the thinker, and those are the ones who breathe a lot. And it's that simple. All you have to do, okay, is to enter second dhyana and you don't care. You don't care whether the hair is hot or cold. No one is impressed. It's not meant to impress people. It's meant for you to chuckle at others. And only, it's a private laugh, okay? Private joke, that's all. Never mind, okay, moving on to real deal Dharma. So the breathing stops. That's the anecdote about breathing. Okay, meaning that you stop thinking, then you don't need to breathe as much. But you're still aware of the sitting and meditation. Okay, you are still aware that you're meditating, you're sitting in meditation. And that's the awareness level you still have of your body. Okay, you can sit up to 49 days. This means that you can sit there and you don't need to get up for 49 days. Okay, you don't need to go to a toilet up to 49 days. After 49 days, you have to go. So don't overdo it. Okay, but if this means that, Alex, this means that if you're in second dhyana for 49 days straight, okay, then you don't need to go to a toilet. But if you're in the second dhyana and you exit second dhyana, then you have to go to a toilet. Okay? Yeah. And you have greater joy than first dhyana. Okay? Dhyana heavens have 3 heavens. One is Shao Guang Tian, the other is Ji Guang Jing Tian, and the other one is Wu Wang Tian. Okay, so these are the three different heavens depending on your level of blessings. You belong to those things. And so, for example, if your blessings is lower level, then you'll be in the second dhyana heaven called small light heaven. And next one is infinite light heaven. And next one is supreme light, pure heaven. Okay, so that's where the king of the second dhyana stays. Okay, and in the second dhyana, these heavenly beings, they are up there. They are suspended. The heavens is suspended in emptiness, and up there, and they communicate using the sound. Okay, and the importance of the second dhyana heavens is that at the end of the kalpa here, the great kalpa, where you will have the three disasters, the three disasters, the end of the kalpa, are of fire, of water, of wind. Fire, water, and wind. Okay, so at the end of the kalpa here, our world will be destroyed by the fire. Right now, we have one sun. At the end of the kalpa, there will be 10 suns, where, as you can imagine, extreme heat will produce a lot of fires. Okay, and it burns our world where we live. Where we live right now will be burned up. Okay, up to the first dhyana heaven. That's called the first disaster. Okay, fire disaster. At the end of kalpa, and then after that, it will be regenerated. Life will come back. Okay, will be reestablished and come back. And then the next disaster will be the water disaster, where the water level will rise. Okay, that will drown everyone in our desire realm. Will drown everyone in the first dhyana heaven. Will also drown everyone in the second dhyana heaven. Okay, and that's why they still the water calamity will destroy the second dhyana heavens. Right? But not to worry. If you're worried about that, you can cultivate furthermore, and you'll be born at the end of your life, under the proper circumstances, into the third dhyana. Okay. By the way, when these disasters happen, the entire desire realm would be destroyed, whether it's by fire, whether it's by water, or whether it's by wind. Okay, so the desire realm where we are will be gone. Okay, so if you're worried about second dhyana, you continue your practice. You'll be reaching the level of third dhyana. Now it's called Li Xi, Miao Le Di. Okay, this means that the name here means that because what happened in the first and second dhyana, you have joy. You are attached to joy, and that's why you have this. You seeking subconsciously. You said life is so hard. And I'm giving you an example. Life is so hard, especially amongst the nuns here. They said, Master is working us to death without pay. It's called slavery. Okay? What's the point? Where's the joy in life? Okay, so they're seeking joy. They said, what is I do during the day to have fun? Okay, so they seek, what is it? Starbucks coffee? Anyone? Huh? Or they seek gelato? Okay, so they're seeking things to bring them joy. For Daniel, for example, he says, well, life is so hard. I would like to look at my girlfriend's face. That's my fun for the day. Come in, girlfriend. You come at the right time. Okay? So, look at her. And that's his joy. You see? So what happened is that subconsciously, okay, we are driven by this inner desire to experience the joy, because otherwise we find it so hard. Okay, to live, life is too hard. Okay? So in third dhyana, and if you do that, it's very difficult for you to make it to third dhyana. Third dhyana, you are no longer attached to the joy of looking at your girlfriend's face, or the, shall we say, French fries at Shake Shack. Anyone like the French fries Shake Shacks? I do. Okay, so, and please don't bring them to the temple. They meant, God, you guys are terrible. As soon as I say I like something, the next day, somehow they magically appear on my lunch table. You know what the problem with that is? It's cold. I hate French fries that are not, they cannot be reheated. Okay, so no French fries, please. Yeah. So they are, because they are not attached to the joy there. Okay, this is a key. They're not attached to the joy like first, second dhyana residents. That's why their bliss was tremendously increased. And I'm telling you this to remind you that it's because these subtle attachments that prevent you from experiencing higher level of bliss. So that's why don't be attached to all these good feelings, especially I know life is so hard for most of you, okay, and you meditate, you experience these joys, these blisses, you look forward to it. It's called attachment. Stop attaching to that, okay? If you happen to meditate, you happen to experience bliss, so be it. But don't look for it, okay? It will happen naturally. If you do that, then you'll be able to ascend to higher levels of dhyanas and samadhis. This is the secret of why the Hinayana or the non-Buddhists, they have a hard time developing samadhis, because deep in their psyche, okay, they look for pleasures because life is so hard, They said, oh my God, my life is so hard. What's there? What's in it for me? And they hop in the car, stop by, Starbucks is no longer, I don't know about you. Can we talk about Starbucks for a moment? I don't know what people see in Starbucks. Starbucks call me. If you call me, I will change my criticism. Yes?
Master, you were talking about the best French fry with Vicky and Sarah. Which place is that,
Shake Shack. But it's not the best. I told you the best is the one they brought me to. The best ever. Okay. That place there in Pasadena is numero uno in my mind. Okay. But it has to be consumed right there. You bring it back, it hardens. And you reheat it, it's not the same anymore. Yes, sir.
Master, what is the location?
We're not going to pronounce it because I have no commercial relationship with them. No freebies here for business. Okay? So anyway, can we go back to Starbucks? I don't know about you, especially Koreans. I went to Korea too. You know what? Shocking to me. Starbucks is everywhere. They look like American Starbucks here. It's big, it's spacious, people linger around there, and they pay exorbitant prices. Same thing in Europe. Starbucks in Europe, Europe, when they drink coffee, they drink coffee. In Europe, they go this small cup of coffee like this. Starbucks is like 10 times bigger with a cup just like in America. And to me, good coffee cannot be dispensed that much because it's too expensive. You have real good coffee beans. You cannot afford to give them the whole tall, thing like this. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why people are so attached to Starbucks. Yes, one. You want to defend yourself, one?
The mocha frappuccino is iced. It's crushed ice. If you go somewhere else and buy a frappuccino, the ice actually doesn't melt. Only Starbucks, it melts evenly. So when you suck it up with a straw, it actually you can suck it up with a straw. But other places, the ice gets stuck to the cup.
Well, because you came to the wrong place. You can try the other much higher end coffee places. I can think of 2 places, but I'm not going to name names either. Call me. You think you better call me, huh? I will endorse it. Send me a cup. See, one of my disciples, she came to America, and she gave me a cup of Starbucks. A white thing that says Starbucks, whatever, roast coffee, whatever, okay? And I would never show that on TV, on video. Anyway, how do we get into Starbucks again? Okay, yeah. The reason people are attached to Starbucks because they are trying to reward themselves, indulge themselves because of suffering. So they're looking for joy, okay? And that's why Starbucks addicts cannot go beyond second dhyana. I'm warning you. Because you have to be apart from joy. You cannot be attached to joy. Okay? So for the Koreans, let those who are attached to joy go to Starbucks. Okay? And please, no more Starbucks mugs for me. Okay? If you're not attached to joy, then you will enjoy even more bliss. Okay? So it's the attachment to joy that prohibits you from experiencing more bliss. Isn't it fascinating? I'm dissecting it for you because these are the little problems, little mistakes that people make. They don't realize they're shooting themselves in the foot by hiding this. I'm not addicted to Starbucks. Are you kidding? No, I'm a pure person. So that's why Xin Shun struggles so much. She's a Starbucks person. Okay. So you can sit up to 3 years. Okay? That's a long time. You have greater joy. Okay? Sitting 3 years, you mean you don't need to get up at all. Okay? And the third dhyana heavens have 3. Shao Jing Tian, they have Wu Liang Jing Tian, and Bian Jing Tian. Okay? And so these are the 3 different third dhyana heavens that you can live in, depending on your blessings level. Okay? Same thing. Third dhyana has different levels of blessings. Okay, and same thing in America. We have people who live in Rosemead, like us, cheap people, versus people who live in a nicer area called, Beverly Hills, Malibu, and those places. Okay, because they have more blessings. Third dhyana residents are still subject to the wind calamity at the end of the kalpa. At the end of the kalpa, the third calamity, after the first one being the fire, which destroys up to the first dhyana heaven, and then it rejuvenates, regenerates itself. It's called Genesis, okay? And that's where the Catholics stole the idea from. And then they would go into the second calamity called the water calamity, where people will be drowned. The flood will rise up to the second dhyana heaven, will destroy those heavens. And the end of kalpa, the third and final kalpa calamity, it would be the wind kalpa, where the wind will rise and will destroy everything. Scary. The wind itself can destroy everything. And it will destroy up to the third dhyana heaven. Okay? All right. 125, fourth dhyana. Okay? They abandon purity. Remember third dhyana? Third dhyana here, they are attached to purity. In fourth dhyana, they drop the attachment to purity, and that's how they got there. And they experience no more state of suffering or bliss. Okay, for most Vietnamese monks and many Hinayana practitioners, they usually reach third dhyana and they get stopped there, because third dhyana is considered to be very blissful, and that's why they're attached to it. Subconsciously, they like it so much that it's so intense that they become attached to it unknowingly, and that's why lifetime after lifetime they look for it. Okay, that's why lifetime after lifetime they reach third dhyana again, and they say, "Wow, I'm home. I'm so happy. Home, sweet home." And that's why third dhyana is very, very dangerous for practitioners. For our students, we remind them that I used to remind them, and now it is no longer necessary. I used to remind my students that they should not be attached to third dhyana. Third dhyana, the bliss is very, very intense. It feels wonderful. And when you go to fourth dhyana, you transcend it. There's no more this suffering or even bliss. And so the bliss is a different kind of bliss. It's much lighter, much freer, if you will. Okay? And in the fourth dhyana, which is the top of the form realm, there are 8 heavens. Okay? In the subsequent slides, okay, 8 heavens, they're documented here. There is no cloud heaven, and then I have the Chinese insight here. How you born at the heaven, and then the next heaven is Fu Sheng Tian. Okay, so you have blessings. That's how you're born here, and there's certain requirements here for you to be born there. Guang Go Tian is another thing as well. So you see, for these 8 heavens in the fourth dhyana, you need to have a certain conditions for you to be born there. Okay, if you are curious, you can look it up in Chinese and have your Chinese friend translate for you and so forth. And I'm just leaving this slide here for your reference, that's all. To us, it's not for our personal practices. We're not interested in such knowledge, but you can look it up for your own reference, to impress others of your erudition, if you will. Okay, it's not my objective is to help you prove to others of your erudition. But if you're curious, you can look it up. Okay. And in the Fourth Dhyana, you are apart from the eight disasters, the eight disasters and difficulties, which is to seek, to examine, suffering, bliss, worry, joy, exhaling, inhaling. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are the 8 difficulties and calamities. Isn't that interesting? When you breathe, inhale and exhaling is considered a difficulty. Okay, and you get to the Fourth Dhyana heavens, you are beyond that, and that's why they are called, the people there in the Fourth Dhyana heaven are called, this particular dhyana, this concentration or level is called unmoving dhyana, okay, where even the fine thoughts disappear. For example, in the third dhyana heavens, the coarse thoughts stopped, but you still have fine thoughts. And then a fourth dhyana, fine thoughts even disappear. And because of that, you can sit for 9 years. And all thought processes stop, and consciousness do not move. Okay, it's still there, but it doesn't move anymore. Okay, and because of that, it's fairly commonplace for a lot of people who practice, especially Hinayana practitioners, to think they are enlightened because they realize they have no more thoughts. Even fine thoughts stop, but it's not enlightenment. But that's why the very famous, the Fourth Dhyana Bhikshu, it's called the Wu Xue Bhikshu, the unlearned Bhikshu, who entered the Fourth Dhyana and he realized that he has no more thoughts. He could sit for a long, long time and all thought processes stopped. Okay, even his consciousness don't even move. And he thought he reached fourth stage Arhat. And that's why he thought he was enlightened. Okay? Okay, and so that's why it's commonplace for the monks and nuns who practice Chan or practice meditation. It's fairly easy for them to be confused. Okay, and that's why in Buddhist practices, we always urge you to practice under a good known advisor to avoid these issues. Because it's commonplace. It's every twist and turn, everywhere you go, there's always traps for you to get stuck on. Okay? So, and the problem with worldly people is because that the worldly habits of you think you can figure it out. Okay? And unfortunately, you can't. Okay, So what happened so we're at the top of the form realm, and this form realm here is called the samadhi and the wisdom are equal. Okay, they're proportionate. Okay, whereas when you go to the next realm called the formless realm, then actually now you have higher level of dhyana, higher level of samadhi, but wisdom is smaller. So you have an unbalance, if you will. That's even a rather precarious thing for the practitioners. And it's not uncommon for the yoga practitioners of the non-Buddhist people in India who went to the formless realms and got stuck. It's not until the Buddha came along who taught them how to unstuck themselves. So the Buddhists would have the technology to unstuck you. Okay? Go ahead, Conk. Can't hear you.
들리시나요?
Go
Can you
ahead.
hear me? 네. 한국어 유튜브에 올라온 현법 스님 질문입니다. 경전에서 부처님께서 열반에 드실 때 여러 선정 단계를 오르내리시다가 자선에 드신 다음에 열반에 드셨다고 배웠습니다. 왜 부처님께서 많은 선정 단계 중 4선에 드셔서 열반하셨는지 알 수 있을까요?
성수님 안 들려요. Hello, Gold First, we cannot hear.
Translation.
Do you hear me?
Go ahead.
In Sutra, when Buddha entered Nirvana, he experienced several different levels of dhyana. And then before entering the Nirvana, he entered the fourth dhyana. Could you explain why Buddha entered fourth dhyana and then entered Nirvana?
Where? Why is it mentioned that he did that?
This is from the Parinirvana Sutra.
Parinirvana Sutra?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure why he entered Fourth Dhyana before he entered the Nirvana. What the Buddha does is not clear. I'm not familiar with that particular sutra or the particular section. But the Buddhas are different. Buddhas can enter any samadhi level, any dhyana, at any order he likes. Okay. In fact, not just Buddhas, Bodhisattvas too. They can simply enter they can enter a dhyana, they enter samadhi, or they can enter much higher level of samadhis as well, at will. They develop that ability, and that's bodhisattvas. So much more is the case for Buddhas. They enter it because usually they enter those dhyanas in order to teach people. Okay? So that they can demonstrate to their students what happens. So that's why they do it. But as far as for Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they can enter a lot of different levels of dhyanas and samadhis at will, typically. Go ahead, Q&A from San Jose. Can't hear you.
Sorry, Master, can you hear us?
Go ahead.
So Master, this is a question for myself. So I usually get up in the morning, meditate, and start do hands and eyes first. Most of the time, if not all the time, I just have a lot of thoughts while I'm doing the mantras, so I couldn't really do them very well. So I wonder if Master, do you have any instructions? Should I maybe not start doing hands and eyes first? Should I do something else? How can I overcome that?
This falls in the realms of you there, and therefore you need to figure it out yourself. I'm not going to solve all the problems for you. Okay? I would teach you how to get there. I tell you you're there. Now, these things are not supposed to happen. You have to figure out why. Okay, eventually. So you can do it in two ways. One way is I explain it to you so that every time you have an issue, something you don't understand, you say, hey, that's Ask Master, which I never had a chance to do. I had a lot of questions, and I didn't have my teacher, Master YongHua, to ask. And I'm unlike most of you. I'm pretty clear about it. He's dead, he's dead. I'm not going to call him up and say, hey, Master, can you get out of your grave and continue to teach me? I mean, the old guy left, he died because he couldn't stay here. So what are we doing bringing him back and bothering him? So I never bothered asking him. I asked his disciples and they couldn't answer me either. So it forced me to figure it out myself. So I'm making you do the same. I'm not going to fix it for you. You should be so glad that I tell you where you are. I told you where you are. And that means you're able to do those things. You can't, that means you have to work harder. And you figure out eventually why you're not doing those things. If you understand why, then you have more wisdom, because wisdom is developed by you having to solve problems. See, if you understand how to solve those problems, then you can help others.
Yes, Master. Thank you.
Okay, I think most people don't understand my reasons for saying certain things and telling you certain things. At very early in my career, teaching career, I started telling people right away where they're at. And I first started by emphasizing to my early disciples, don't be attached to third dhyanas, because it's a real, you can get tripped, you can get trapped in there. I used to be scared of that myself personally. I didn't want that to happen to my disciples, my students either. But it turned out not to be an issue at all, because I saw a lot of, as I said, monks and nuns who got stuck in that level time and time again, and too many of them. So it's a scary thing. And it turns out that for our students, our followers, it never was a problem. Why is that? Because the early ones transcend third dhyanas, and there's too many of them around, so that So instead of worrying about getting stuck at third dhyana, now our focus for all our students is that how come he or she, Master said he or she is at, let's say, fourth stage Arhat, I'm not there, okay? So now you see that there's much higher levels than third dhyana or fourth dhyana and so forth. And everyone can get up there, okay? So you are urging each other to reach higher and higher, okay, by cultivating together, okay? Of course, there's always some who can't take it, who cannot take the test and flunk the test, that's why they have to leave. Those who pass the test are able to stick around and will benefit from your co-cultivators. Okay, because they are working hard, they are improving. And I reward all of you by telling you where you are to save you time. Because I used to practice blindly. No one would tell me anything. Okay, not only did I practice blindly, I alluded to you as well earlier in the other session, is that not only no one gave me tips or hints, they also oppressed me. And suppress me, try to suppress me, oppress me, slandered me, do all those things, okay? It only made me stronger, that's all, okay? So adversity, hardship will make you rise to the occasion. I believe in the human spirit. I feel that all of you are capable of that, and you should not be afraid of hardship. So my gift to you is I will tell you when the time, at the right time, what level you are. And there's some losers who said, "How come I'm at that level and I don't have those abilities?" How stupid can you be? When I tell you a fourth stage Arhat, then you're supposed to be able to do that. If you cannot do it, because you have not developed the skills. You haven't been able to do it consistently. Okay? That you have a problem there. You figure out why. I don't need to tell you, because it goes into your personal problems. Why do I go into your personal problems? You know why? I tell you bluntly. I don't go there because you don't want me to go there. It's too embarrassing for you. You can't take it when I go there. That's why you hide it. That's why I don't go there. I do you a favor telling you that's where you are right now. You can't do it because you create your own problems. Not my fault. I brought you there, and you still hang on to those bad habits. Yes, one.
From Go Force Daniel, Master, I drink Starbucks several times a week to help me with work. To not drink it would not be a balanced approach. So how can I gauge when I'm drinking out of addiction and craving? It seems easy to justify me drinking it.
I don't know. Again, personally, I don't necessarily approve of drinking Starbucks. Okay? I would drink my own coffee. For example, at home every day, I will make my own coffee. I don't drink coffee, by the way, because I feel coffee is bad for you. Unless, but I drink tea, okay? Because I remember that, I learned that from Master Xu Yun. He says he became enlightened because he was practicing the Chan Qi, and then he was sleepy. So in the Chinese system, they have a way where they have an attendant who would walk around the Chan hall in this big kettle of tea, and they would pour tea. They walk in front of you, you like some tea, you lift your cup or something, and they know, there's no word exchange. They then would pour the tea into you. What happened to Master Xu Yun, very famous, is that he was practicing, he was not enlightened yet, and then he was sleepy, so as the attendant, the tea server was in front of him, he lifted his teacup, and the guy was so sleepy, and it's dark in a Chan hall, that he poured hot tea over Master Xu Yun's hand. And it was so Master Xu Yun was hot, so he dropped his teacup, and it splattered on the ground. And that sound right there of the teacup crashing helped Master Xu Yun become enlightened. That sound right there made him become enlightened. Okay, so because I heard of that, and I'm not being an enlightened person, I'm hoping that's why I said, since I don't trust, especially Americans and Vietnamese people, to pour hot tea on my hand. I don't want to have scars on my hand, so I make my own tea, and I will bring it to the Chan Hall. So that's my excuse for drinking tea and not coffee. Because I feel that if Master Xu Yun drank tea and he became enlightened, maybe the time had come for me to become enlightened through drinking tea as well. Okay? And there's a drawback. Can I tell you? Is it okay to share this? And our time is up. Now it doesn't count anymore, right? There's a drawback. After I drink the good teas of all you good people gave me and served me, I go to Starbucks, I go to the other nice places, the tea tastes horrible. Okay, that's a drawback. So now I make my own tea. Never mind. Okay, time is up. Thank you, everyone. We will continue with what slide were you at? 120 something? 127. There you go. Next time we talk about, continue from 127. Thank you. That's the rebirth transference.